When we think of the Middle Ages, do you only think of Europe? What about the lost superpowers? They were so powerful that their kings were called lords of the world, but now no one even knows their names. Imagine a Turkish state, but it chose Judaism as its official religion, or the superpower before the Mongols who conquered all of China, or the wealthiest kingdom in Europe, with nobles sitting on golden thrones suddenly disappearing. These 7 civilizations were giants of their time, but they were erased from history. So why? Let's uncover the secrets of these forgotten empires. 1. Khazar Kaganate, the Turkish Jewish Empire in Europe. Several centuries ago, during the Middle Ages, there was a Turkish state from Central Asia that established itself as one of the most powerful civilizations in the world. But oddly enough, its official religion was Judaism. Yes, the Khazar Kaganate. This vast empire extended from Central Asia to the Black Sea, even reaching present-day Russia. A state this powerful was not only ruled by Turks, but also by a monarchy that adopted the Jewish faith. The Khazars were so influential on trade routes that even Russian princes were forced to pay them taxes. The Khazars were that powerful. But then what happened? Why did this enormous empire suddenly vanish into the depths of history? The Khazar Kaganate was founded in the 7th century and lasted until the mid-10th century. Most historians note that the Khazars became a center of trade and culture. At its height, the Khaganate covered regions such as present-day Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan. The famous Khazars established major trade routes and cultural exchanges with other great powers, particularly the Byzantine Empire and the Arabs. However, in the 10th century, the Khazar Kaganate came under attack, particularly by the Kievan Rus and the Pechenegs. Also, the conflicts between the Crusaders and Arabs were among the factors that led to its demise. By the 11th century, the Khazars had disappeared from history, and what was once a mighty civilization remained as a legend. The Khazar Kaganate went down in history as one of the mysterious and lost states of the Middle Ages. But this is just one example. Now let's move on to our second civilization, the Kingdom of Aksum. 2. Kingdom of Aksum, Africa's forgotten superpower. We're talking about the great Roman Empire and Byzantium, but there was another great power that challenged both of these states. And this power was located in the heart of Africa. The Kingdom of Aksum, with its wealth and technology, rivaled the kingdoms of Europe, but unfortunately, it left almost no trace. The Kingdom of Aksum ruled in the northeastern part of Africa, in what is now modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea. However, what was remarkable was that the kingdom wasn't limited to land. It extended its influence through religion, culture, and trade, all the way to the Middle East and India. Aksum was also one of the first places in Africa to adopt Christianity. Aksum's greatness peaked in the 4th century. They were so wealthy that they had close trade relations with other states around the Mediterranean. Aksum became an important trade hub for valuable commodities like gold, silver, ivory, and pearls. They were not only known for their economic power, but also for their unique architecture and written culture. The Kingdom of Aksum was founded around 100 BCE and lasted until the late 7th century. Historians believe that Aksum was one of the world's most influential civilizations, especially due to its power in maritime trade. The kingdom played a major role in a trade route that stretched from the Red Sea shores to India. Aksum also developed its own writing system, similar to the Indo-European script, and was famous for its massive obelisks made of stone. However, by the late 7th century, Aksum's power began to weaken. The Arab conquests in the region and the control of sea routes by Muslims shook the economic foundations of Aksum. Additionally, internal wars and political challenges during this time also hastened the collapse of the kingdom. As a result, this great civilization slowly faded from the historical stage, leaving behind only a few monumental structures. The Kingdom of Aksum was once one of the most powerful civilizations of the Middle East and Africa. Now, let's move on to our third civilization, the Toltecs. 3. The Toltecs, Mexico's lost civilization. There was a great empire in Mexico, but interestingly, it vanished. The traces of this civilization have remained an unsolved mystery to this day. The Toltecs created one of Mexico's most influential cultures, leaving behind only massive stone statues and mysterious ruins. The Toltecs were a powerful civilization that ruled in the central region of Mexico. Historians note that the Toltecs were not only a warrior culture, but also a civilization that was quite advanced in art and architecture. This people had expanded from northern to southern Mexico before the Aztecs, and over time spread their cultural and religious influences to other regions. But one day, they suddenly disappeared. The Toltecs built pyramids, massive statues, and religious structures. One of their most famous works is the giant warrior statues found in Tula. These figures are still considered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history. However, the reason for the Toltecs' disappearance remains unknown. The Toltecs emerged around the 10th century in central Mexico and ruled for about 250 years. The most well-known center of the Toltecs was the city of Tula. The structures, massive stone figures, and architecture in this city reveal the magnitude of the Toltecs' cultural influence. The Aztecs greatly admired this civilization and stated that the foundations of their own culture were drawn from the Toltecs. The Toltecs began to mysteriously disappear in the 12th century. Some historians link this disappearance to internal wars, resource shortages, and natural disasters. But there is still no definitive explanation for the fall of this great civilization. Unfortunately, the Toltecs vanished into history, leaving only traces of their civilization. The Toltecs were once a civilization that created a significant impact in central Mexico, but when they disappeared, only mysterious ruins were left behind. Now, let's move on to our fourth civilization, the Duchy of Burgundy. 4. The Duchy of Burgundy. The forgotten power of medieval Europe. In medieval Europe, there was a state that remained in the shadow of great empires. The Duchy of Burgundy was part of the feudal system, but gradually became one of the most powerful states in Europe, with its vast lands and military strength. So what happened that caused this great power to disappear from the history books? In the 14th century, Burgundy became a power center between French and German territories. The Duchy of Burgundy not only expanded its lands, but also its cultural influence. Its impact on art, architecture, literature, and especially political strategy made Burgundy one of the most important states in medieval Europe. However, the true power of the Duchy of Burgundy was not only demonstrated through its military and cultural strength, but also through its diplomatic skills. The duchy played a major role in balancing the power between the Kingdom of France and the Holy Roman Empire. The Duchy of Burgundy was established in the 9th century as part of the Frankish kingdom, but by the mid-14th century, it gained significant independence. Burgundy reached its peak power in the 15th century, creating a vast influence both culturally and militarily. Some of its most famous rulers include Philip the Good and Charles the Bold. Burgundy was able to project power not just within its borders, but across the vast territories of Europe. The Duchy of Burgundy weakened towards the end of the 15th century due to internal conflicts and constant warfare. After the death of Charles the Bold, Burgundy's lands were divided between the Kingdom of France and the Habsburg Empire. Slowly, these lands merged and formed the foundations of modern European nation-states. Burgundy quickly faded into history, but its impact on European history is still felt today. The Duchy of Burgundy may have disappeared as a power in Europe's history, but its influence lasted for centuries. Now, let's move on to our fifth civilization, the Novgorod Republic. 5. Novgorod Republic, Russia's forgotten republic. Long before the great imperial history that comes to mind when thinking of Russia today, there was a very different system in the north of Russia. The Novgorod Republic was one of the leading centers of governance in medieval Russia, but over time, this powerful state disappeared into the depths of history. Novgorod began to emerge in the 9th century, and throughout the 12th century, became the most important trade and cultural center of Russia. Unlike the feudal monarchy, this republic adopted a form of governance where the people had more say. Novgorod's trade routes connected not only Russia, but also Western Europe and Byzantium. For this reason, Novgorod was once one of the wealthiest and most powerful city-states in the north. The Novgorod Republic was also an important religious center. Influenced by Christianity from Byzantium, the foundations of the Russian Orthodox Church were laid here. Additionally, the democratic structure of the government in Novgorod was very different from that of other feudal societies of the time. Novgorod was founded by the Varangians in the 9th century and began to exist as an independent republic from the 12th century. Especially during the 12th and 13th centuries, Novgorod became a major cultural and economic hub, turning into one of the most powerful city-states in Eastern Europe. Its location on trade routes and its union with the northern Russian peoples gave Novgorod a significant strategic advantage. Novgorod's strong government was managed through popular assemblies known as veche. However, by the mid-15th century, the power of Novgorod began to weaken rapidly. The growing influence of Moscow and internal conflicts in the region paved the way for the end of the Novgorod Republic. In 1478, it was conquered by the Grand Duchy of Moscow, and thus Novgorod sank into the depths of history. Nevertheless, the fall of Novgorod had a profound impact on the history and culture of Russia. Novgorod was once a great power and cultural center in early Russia. However, the legacy left behind by this forgotten republic played a significant role in Russia's development. Now let's move on to our sixth civilization, the Srivijaya Kingdom. 6. Srivijaya Kingdom, the maritime empire of Southeast Asia. Once upon a time in Southeast Asia, there existed a civilization that ruled the oceans. The Srivijaya Kingdom dominated not only its lands, but the seas as well. But what happened to cause this great maritime power to disappear from the history books? Let's explore Srivijaya's reign over the seas. The Srivijaya Kingdom from the 7th century onward was one of Southeast Asia's most powerful maritime civilizations. This civilization ruled from the island of Sumatra and controlled a vast sea route extending from India to China. By controlling the most important sea routes in Asia, Srivijaya prospered and became a significant cultural center. This civilization grew not only through maritime trade, but also through cultural exchange. Srivijaya became one of the most important centers for the spread of Buddhism in the region. The kingdom welcomed Buddhist monks from India and established great monasteries on its land. Srivijaya was established in the 7th century and reached its peak in the 13th century. The Srivijaya Kingdom had a vast trade network with the Gupta Empire in India and China. By controlling the maritime routes of Southeast Asia, it gained unparalleled power in the region. At its height, Srivijaya was the center of all sea voyages between India and China. However, Srivijaya was not just a maritime kingdom. It was also a hub for culture, science, and religion. By the 13th century, the Srivijaya Kingdom began to decline rapidly. Among the reasons for this decline were internal conflicts, the rise of rival kingdoms in the region, and the Mongol pressure in Southeast Asia. Eventually, in the 14th century, Srivijaya was conquered by the Malacca Sultanate, and it lost the power it once held over the seas it ruled. Srivijaya was once a civilization that ruled the seas, but over time, it fell into decline and ultimately vanished from the stage of history. Now let's move on to our final civilization, the Maya civilization. 7. Maya civilization, the scientific giant of Central America. The Maya civilization was one of the most fascinating and mysterious civilizations in Central America. So what happened to this civilization that built complex calendars and massive pyramids, causing it to disappear? The Maya civilization began to develop in the southeast of Central America around 2,000 years ago and became one of the most advanced cultures in the region for almost 1,000 years. The Mayans had reached an advanced level in astronomy, mathematics, and writing systems. They were also highly skilled in constructing pyramids and temples. The Maya calendar was far more precise than modern calendars. The Mayans studied the Earth's rotation, the movement of the sun, and many other natural phenomena in an effort to understand the structure of the universe. Despite the fascinating scientific knowledge they developed, the Maya people mysteriously vanished into great mystery and uncertainty. The Maya civilization began to strengthen in Central America around 1000 BC and entered its classical period around 250 BC. During this time, the Mayans established large city-states and made significant advances in mathematics, astronomy, writing, and the arts. Their greatest achievement was creating a 365-day solar calendar and a 260-day sacred calendar. They also built massive pyramids and stunning temples. However, the Maya civilization mysteriously began to collapse. In the 9th century, many Maya cities were abandoned, and by the end of the 10th century, much of the civilization had been destroyed. Prolonged droughts, wars, and environmental factors may have accelerated this collapse. The disappearance of the Mayans was not just the fall of a city-state, but the destruction of an entire civilization. Although the Maya civilization left behind many significant legacies in science and culture, it vanished and remained a forgotten civilization over time. Yet, the remnants it left behind hold many secrets waiting to be discovered. These long-lost great civilizations throughout history continue to remain mysteries. In this video, we explored the 7 great unknown and lost civilizations of the Middle Ages. Each of them had a significant impact during their time, but eventually disappeared. By delving into history's depths, we can better understand the traces they left behind. Who knows, perhaps in the future, the mystery of these civilizations will be solved, and more knowledge will be revealed to us. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more information on lost civilizations. We look forward to your comments and see you in the next video.